kids, you can head back to your classes. They do appreciate the extra practice that they've had since we had the cancellation, of course, with the weather. But we do encourage you to try to make it out tonight and kick off the new year with watching all the little ones and their hard work as they officially wrap up our Christmas season. So we hope that you'll be here to participate with the kids in their play tonight. Well, it is New Year's, and we do look at a fresh start. A time for change. And you know, we love stories where people change. Good example. Born on January 10th, 1949, George grew up in Houston, Texas. Now, George's life was not easy, and it was not simple. It was rather difficult and at times complicated. When George was 5 years old, there was a man in his life named J.D. he thought was his father. He wasn't for sure, but he thought it was his dad. And he left the family, leaving George and his 6 siblings with their mother alone. And so it was a daunting load for a single mother to raise 7 children all by herself. And so it was so difficult that George often just roamed the streets by himself. He was off on his own, getting into trouble. He was bigger and stronger than most boys his age, and so he wandered the streets, living in abandoned houses from time to time. He would pickpocket people, and he would even mug drunks as they came out of the bars. And so he was making trouble for everyone he met. His mother was overwhelmed with his bad behavior, and it was so bad at one point that she even was admitted to the hospital for an emotional breakdown when he was 14 years old. While she was there, she did receive a paycheck from her work, and she sent $45 home for George's sister to receive, to buy her graduation ring, because it was something she really wanted to do. But George found the money first, stole it, and instead bought wine and some gifts for himself. By the time he was 16, he was tough and on the streets, causing problems, fighting anybody who came into contact with him. But he was functionally illiterate, could barely read or write. One night, however, he describes an experience that woke him up to the truth about his life. After he had mugged someone, he crawled under a house in a crawl space to hide from the police who was searching for him with search dogs. And he writes this: I started remembering from television shows that whenever the criminals were getting pursued, they would go into the water so the dogs couldn't sniff them. So I started digging myself under the mud. And for the first time, I realized I had become a criminal. I had dropped out of school, and I didn't know what to do with my life. It was a real wake-up call for George. He remembered seeing a television commercial put on by Lyndon B. Johnson about the Job Corps. I'm sure some of you remember that program. It was designed to help disadvantaged children have an opportunity to learn job skills so they could be functional in the workplace, vocational skills. So George filled out an application shortly after this incident and was selected to participate, and he had to travel to California. He learned skills like bricklaying, forestry, and carpentry, and he also learned how to read and write. During that time, he earned a paycheck, and he sent $50 a month home to his mother to help care for him and his other siblings. While he was at the Job Corps, George met a man named Doc. Doc was a job counselor, but he had a secondary job as a boxing coach. And he said, George, why don't you take up boxing on the side? It's something to do. Well, so George did. And he went 24-0 as an amateur. And in 1968, he participated with the United States in the Olympics, and he won the gold medal. The following year, he would turn professional, and George Foreman, in 1972, would become the heavyweight champion of the world. If it stopped there, this is an amazing story. This is a great story. What a great way to start the new year. It's exciting, it's invigorating, it's something to look up to. Someone who was in a difficult spot became champion of the world. What more could you ask for? But the story continues. Foreman would continue to hold the title for several years, but he would end up losing it at some point. And on his quest to win back the title in 1977, he lost only his second time ever in his career. And he describes that night in the locker room as having a religious experience. Now, I've not read his autobiography yet, so I don't exactly know what that was. But at that moment, he retired from boxing. He became an ordained minister. And he returned to Houston, Texas to start a church and to open up a youth center to help troubled kids on the streets, much like he was when he was just 15 years old. If that was the whole story, you would say, wow, that's even better. How great is that? But that is not the whole story of George Foreman. No, the story continues. In the mid-'80s, he opened the youth center in 1984. Things were not going so well financially for George Foreman, to the point where he couldn't pay his bills anymore. And all his close friends and family told him to close the youth center, to give this up because losses. But George cared too much for these kids. He remembered what it was like being them, where he was a criminal for a living. And he didn't want other kids to go down that road. And so he did the only thing he knew to do. He returned to the boxing ring after 10 years of retirement. Everyone said it was impossible. Everyone said this is a fool's errand. There's no way you're going to do any good. His first 24 fights returning to the ring, he went again 24-0. He would have a couple of losses in there, but in 1994, at the age of 45, he would fight Michael Moore for the heavyweight champion of the world. There's about 20 years age difference between George Foreman and Michael Moore. The whole fight is on YouTube. I watched it all. I'm going to spoil it for you, so if you're going to watch it, you're going to know what happens. The first 9 rounds, Michael Moore used George Foreman as a punching bag. It was not pretty. He beat him up. He hurt him. It was obvious that youth was going to win. And then in the 10th round, as Michael Moore was making his way around, George Foreman just landed this very gentle right cross that knocked Moore out. And Foreman became the oldest champion in heavyweight boxing history. What an amazing story. He would go on to have a career record in 6 losses. If that were the whole story, that's pretty amazing. Oh, but it doesn't stop there. George Foreman worked for a few products you might have heard of. How many of you have ever owned a George Foreman grill? Raise your hand up. How many of you have owned more than one George Foreman grill? And some hands go back up. I think he did a really good job selling his products. Not only did he sell the grill, he would write a cookbook to go with the grill. He would write multiple biographies about himself, autobiographies. He would also write other publications on how to be an entrepreneur. He would also work for Meineke Car Care in their promotional ads. And now today he owns a horse ranch and a cattle farm, and you can buy his beef products online and he'll ship it to you. And he does all this, making hundreds of millions of dollars, because he had one purpose in mind. He wanted to care for his church, and he wanted to care for his youth center. Today, George Foreman has that youth center. It's alive and it's well, and there is an annual fee to be involved in it. A kid has to pay his or her age. So if you are 15 years old, you pay $15 a year to be in that youth center. If you're 10, it's 10. You can do the math there. Even adults have a pricing category to be in there. And you say, well, that's not going to cover all the costs of a youth center. Of course not. It doesn't even come close. Where does that money come from? It comes from your George Foreman grills that you bought. It comes from the Meineke Car Care when you go get your car fixed there. It comes from the books that he has sold, the meat that he sells. It comes from his boxing career. He did all those things because he cared for the kids on the streets of Houston. Not only that, but 4 times a week, George preaches. Twice on Sunday and twice during the week, he preaches to his church, a non-denominational church he started back in 1980. He continues to travel around the country, engaged in various speaking events as well. George Foreman has done a lot in his life, and boxing is probably the least of the things that he's done. Coming full circle. Have you ever heard that term before? It defines going through a series of developments that leads you back to your starting point with a new position or a new perspective. Notice how George Foreman came full circle. And he started as a troubled youth in the streets of Houston, and he has returned to the streets of Houston helping troubled youths. He's not forgotten his roots. He's not forgotten how difficult it was, and he went back to this very difficult neighborhood to help out. And it needs help. It's the 5th Ward of Houston. From what I've read, there's a murder that happens about every week in this particular neighborhood. From street thug to boxing champion to preacher and entrepreneur. What a great inspirational story for us as we continue and begin our new year. I think we would all agree that this story is pretty amazing. But let me ask you a question right now. When was the last time you were amazed, besides hearing this story right now? Or maybe besides the baptism that you saw, because that's pretty amazing. How you give yourself to Jesus and he completely cleans up every mistake you've ever made in your life. I mean, that's pretty amazing. But let's discount those two things right now. What is the thing that has amazed you most recently? What is the thing that has caught your attention that made you say, wow, that's amazing? For me, it's magic shows. How many of you like magic shows? Do we have some? Okay, we got some fans. I love magic shows, and I'm always amazed. I know I could look up online to see how they do the tricks. I don't want to know. I like being amazed. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to do a magic trick for you today. This is just an ordinary butter knife, as you can see. There's nothing special. It comes from the kitchen. I will wash it before I return it. But it is a very amazing knife. It is so amazing that it can float in the air. We're going to just work on it right here. We're going to work on it right here. Get off there. Get off there. Get off there. It's magic. Who's amazed? Who's amazed? Oh, come on. Who's amazed? You just don't want to admit it and look foolish in front of everyone else. And you want to know how it's done? A magician never reveals. Oh, I'm kidding. I got a knife right here. I was holding it in place. So that's how I did it. So I used my watch band. No secret. Nothing too phenomenal. The amazement is gone. So you were amazed for a moment. I love to be amazed. I love being left in wonder, wondering how something is done. Now, the New Testament has a word for amazed in the English Standard Version, and it is the word marveled. It is the word marveled. The definition means to be astonished, left in wonder, to admire, or respect. And there are certain instances in the Bible where people marveled. For example, there's a story where Jesus he came to the place known as the Gadarenes. There was a man who was demon-possessed there. He lived among the tombs. He was naked. He cut himself with rocks. He cried out at night. He was a sad, sad man. And Jesus came and healed him. He drove the demons out into the herd of pigs. I think some of us are familiar with this story. And as Jesus is getting ready to leave the land, the man begs to go with him. And Jesus tells him, no. Return home and tell everyone what God has done for you. And here's what we read in Mark 5:20. And he went away and began to proclaim in the Decapolis, which is a region of 10 towns that he lived in, how much Jesus had done for him. And everyone, say the word with me, marveled. People are marvelers. It's what we do. We get excited about stuff, but sometimes we marvel in the wrong way. You know, the beast comes up in Revelation 13. We're not making any predictions about who or what that is. But listen to this. One of its heads seemed to have a mortal wound. But its mortal wound was healed, and the whole earth, say the word with me, marveled as they followed the beast. So we see people are marvelers. Sometimes we marvel at good things. Look at what Jesus has done. Sometimes it's bad things. Ooh, look at the beast. Let's follow it. So we marvel in good ways and bad ways. Now here's the most interesting thing to me. Did you know Jesus marveled in the Bible? And this completely caught me off guard. I was doing devotional reading through the Gospel of Mark during the month of December. And as I went through it, it just completely blew me away. And I had to read it more than once to grasp it. I did some extra reading in Matthew and some other books to put this picture together. But there's one story where Jesus is out and about, and a Roman officer comes to him and asks Jesus to heal his servant who's ill. And Jesus is prepared to leave and go with him. And the Roman officer says, no. Listen, I'm a man under authority. When I tell people to go here and do this, they do it. And basically they say, your authority is much greater. You just say the word and he'll be healed. You don't even have to come to his house. Now, to our knowledge, Jesus has done no healing of great distance. It's never happened before. But this Roman officer recognizes that Jesus has the power to do that. And in Matthew 8:10, here's what we read. When Jesus heard this, he, say the word with me, marveled, and said to those who followed him, truly I tell you, with no one in Israel have I found such faith as this. But Jesus also marvels in another way. For example, he returns to his hometown to teach and preach. And the people there, as they see him and they're listening, they say, no, wait a minute. This is Joseph's son, the carpenter. This isn't a prophet. This isn't a miracle worker. This is ridiculous. And they start doubting Jesus. And in Mark 6:6, here's what we read. And he, say the word with me, marveled because of their unbelief. And he went about among the villages teaching. So Jesus marvels both at our faith and our lack of faith. Now here's the whole point I want to get to. You realize that you have the ability to make Jesus continue to marvel today. Our choices, our decisions, our actions, our thoughts, our words that we share still produce a reaction from Jesus, much like when he walked among us on the earth. Now, in an honest moment of reflection, would you say you tend to make Jesus marvel in a positive way more often than not? Or a negative way more often than not? Now, I'm not going to ask you to say that out loud, but, maybe you made Jesus marvel in a positive way. Maybe you have put your faith in him in an unwavering way as a result, and Jesus commends your faith, marveling at, wow, I can't believe how strong he or she is. Because you trusted him when the jobs were unavailable. You trusted him when the doctor said the illness won't be cured. You trusted him when there was a broken family that wasn't going to be mended. You trusted him when there was no earthly reason to continue to do so. You made Jesus marvel at the strength and conviction of your faith. I would venture to say we've all had those moments where he's very proud and he marvels at our faith. However, I would also say that there are times that we've made Jesus marvel in a very negative way. We've all said something at some point in time, well, nothing left to do now, I guess we'll pray. Really, prayer is so unimportant to us that it is the last possible reaction to a negative situation. It is so ineffective, it's a last resort instead of a top priority. It's a defeated act instead of an offensive attack. It's amazing what the Bible says about prayer. James says the prayers of the righteous are powerful and effective. Jesus said to pray to your heavenly Father in his name and he will answer. Not always the way we want, but he's promised to answer. And Paul writes to pray at all times and to pray without ceasing. We see all throughout the Bible how important prayer is, but so many times in our life it becomes the last resort. We've got nothing else to do decision. Now that's just about prayer. Imagine the situations we could drum up that maybe we haven't done so well in Jesus' eyes. It's responding to a coworker's criticism of you. Or it's responding to a boss who had something negative to say. Or it's talking to someone when they have a bit of gossip to share. Or maybe it's talking to a family member about their faith and they really need to hear it, but we haven't drummed up the courage to say it. Or we avoiding temptation. The list goes on and on in the areas that we fail. And Jesus marvels at our lack of faith and trust in him. Now I say all of those things to get to this particular question. What do you marvel at the most? What do you marvel at the most in your life? Marveling is a part of life, and we all marvel from time to time. But what is it that catches your attention the most? What is it that leaves you saying, wow, that's amazing? I believe God created us to be people who marvel. I think it's just built into our DNA. I think it's an important part of being human. My concern is that maybe we spend too much time marveling at the wrong things. And I'm going to give just one example. And of course, I start off with the story of George Foreman, but it's true. I think sometimes we marvel at people a little too often. I think we make people an idol. We live in a world of people who lift up people. In our culture specifically, we have people who live not necessarily wickedly, but stupidly. That we are finding less and less to imitate and admire in the people who get all the attention in the news. We have celebrities. We don't have saints. We have famous entertainers to amuse bored customers. We have spoiled athletes who play games vicariously for the lazy and apathetic spectators. And I love sports, so that's hard for me to say that. But either the adventure of goodness or the pursuit of godliness gets headlines in the news. If we look at the news, it's terrorists, it's polarizing people, it's gossip to be shared, it's stars behaving badly, it's extreme lifestyles being lived out, crude individuals that get all the attention. So if we look at what it means to be a mature, whole, complete person, you better not look at the news. They're not going to have a lot to say about it. No journalist ever interviews that sweet little old lady, and we have some of you right here that could be interviewed in such fashion, that have just the nicest life, the nicest demeanor, never say a bad word. You don't get on the news because you're not polarizing. You're not doing something that drums up attention. There's no cash value or Oscars given for integrity. No one compiles a top 10 list of best lives lived in 2016. It covers the most polarizing lives, the most outrageous lives, the biggest mistakes, the biggest blunders. And while we marvel at people, we're left for a thirst for wholeness. We get to the point where we have to get to the point where we're tired of watching celebrities live their lives and start living our own life. We have to start asking the question, what does it mean for me to be a real man or woman? What shape does mature, authentic humanity take in everyday life? And we have to turn to the Scriptures to find our answers. And you may find yourself surprised. One of the things about men and women in Scripture is they are disappointingly not heroic. We do not find splendid moral examples. Abraham lied, Jacob cheated, Moses murdered, David committed adultery and murdered, Peter denied Jesus, Paul persecuted the church. The list goes on and on. And after studying for a short while, what we find is that Scripture gives us very vague information about people who lived decades, some of them over 100 years. We have 10 chapters on. We don't know that much about them. But Scripture is lavish on the information about God. God refuses to use His Word to feed our hero worship. Instead, He feeds us just enough information to draw us into Him instead of into these people. God does not want us to use His Word to get us into an adolescent fan club of some particular model in the Bible. The reason is quite clear. Fan clubs encourage second-hand living through pictures, collectibles, and tourist visits. You know, I'm not going to even ask by a show of hands, but I would say most people in there have been to Graceland. Oh, we got to see the whole Elvis living. Yeah, we've been there too. Okay, but that's it. But and I bet you've owned Elvis records, and I bet you probably have pictures on your wall at some point. And if it's not Elvis, it's somebody. It's somebody. And the reason we follow these celebrities is we want a diversion from our what we consider mediocre existence. We want someone who has this excellent life, this life that's exotic, and we want to ride their coattails. And we do this convinced that we are the ordinary ones and the celebrities are the extraordinary ones. The town we live in, the neighborhood we grew up in, the friends we are stuck with, the marriages we deal with, they all seem so undramatic at times. And we see no way to be significant. And so we set around ourselves idols that we can worship, follow, be attached to. It's a sad business that fan clubs and memorabilia stores continue to flourish in this day and age. So we thank God that His Word does not pander to our need for idol worship. Scripture teaches us is this. The Bible makes it clear that each person is unique and divinely made. The Bible teaches us that each person is not mass-produced copies of one another, but is unique and is not to be matched by anyone else. Each life is a fresh canvas for God to use in a bright, fresh, new way. And that is the hope of a new year, that we can make a better start to this year, that this year can go better than last year. And what we see is the people in Scripture are examples of those who are conscious in participating in God's plan for them in their lives. We don't read about Abraham in order that we can be like Abraham. We read about Abraham so we can know how to better follow God. That is the purpose of it. And so we see each event and each detail in their lives as something God is working at, and they seek to follow Him. That is our goal as well. So what do we need to do? Well, we're going to take just a little bit of time, cover 3 quick points as we finish up with our service today. And I think there's 3 things we need to pray for if we're going to make this year all that God intends it to be. It begins with this. We need to pray for eyes to see. I need spiritual eyes that see the things of God. God enables me to see things that I haven't seen before. One of the best examples in the Bible comes from Moses. He's out tending sheep. He sees a bush burning in flame. That was not extraordinary. What was extraordinary was the fact that the bush kept burning. It didn't burn up. It didn't stop burning. And so he walked over there, and what he thought was ordinary ground and an ordinary bush was quite extraordinary as God spoke to him and said, "Take off your shoes. The place you are standing is holy ground." And I wonder, how many times have I looked at the ground? How many times have I traveled the same places? And I'm just wondering why it's so plain and ordinary, when all along it's holy. It's set apart. We need to pray for eyes to see what really is God's majesty and God's glory. I remember when Missy and I came home from Disney World in 2011, we, of course, took lots of pictures, and we returned home to show my parents, and we went through our little album or phone, whatever we had at the time, I don't know, and look at this, went through all these pictures. And I said, Dad, you and Mom need to go with us to Disney World next time. And Dad said, no, I'm not going. I said, oh, come on, Dad, don't be a Scrooge. You can leave the farm once in your life. And he says, no, it's not that. I don't mind leaving the farm, but I don't want to go see anything man-made. I said, what are you talking about? He says, I don't have any desire to see what a man can build, so they can build a big building. Whoop-de-doo. He says, I want to see things that man can't build. I want to see mountains. I want to see waterfalls. I want to see big trees. He goes, I want to see the things that man cannot make. He says, I'm not impressed with what man can do because man can do it. I want to see what is beyond his ability. And at first I thought, Dad, you're just being a Scrooge. Then I started thinking about it and thought, wow, Dad is awed by the things of God. Dad marvels at what God has made. And I think we need to spend a little more time marveling at God and his creation than we do at what man makes. So let's be fair. What's more impressive? A 10,000-foot mountain or a 1,000-foot steel building? A water fountain or a waterfall? A robot or the entirety of the animal kingdom? I think it's time we start praying that we have eyes that would see and marvel in the right kind of way. Secondly, we need to pray for ears to hear. We need to get our senses involved. Are you getting a trend here? You know, many people wonder why God doesn't speak to us today like he did in the Bible times. But I rather think God does speak to us far more often than we realize. But I think God is not only speaking to us more often, I think God is speaking to us constantly. But we don't have ears to hear. I mean, look around. You know, cars, stereos blaring. I don't say this to pick on him, but it's true. We always know when Tagoo stops by our house because he has his music cranked up so loud in his car, you can hear it, and it's shaking the windows, and you know, that's how a lot of people drive in the car, and that's fine if that's you, that's your business. I'll pick on myself for a minute. When people go running in nature and there's beautiful trees, guess what? We're not paying attention to it. We have our earbuds in. We're listening to our pump me up music. What's going to make me run faster? And that's the kind of things that we do. And home, if the TV's not on, your face is on your phone. And we are constantly things are giving us a lot of noise and feedback. How in the world do we expect to hear from God if our ears are plugged with all this racket? That's why one of the best stories about this comes from the Old Testament, about the priest named Eli. And he was training the young man named Samuel to become a priest as well. Samuel was only a child, but he had a heart for God, and he sought to hear God. And as a boy, one night, he hears the word, Samuel, Samuel. He goes running to Eli, says, yes, what is it? Eli says, I didn't call you, go back to bed. And this scene plays out 3 times. And finally, the 3rd time, Eli says, Samuel, when you go back down and you lay down, if you hear the voice again, say, yes, Lord, your servant is listening. And so that's exactly what happens. He lies down, the Lord calls to him, and he says, speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. And then the next line says, the word of the Lord came to Samuel. There are so many instances where people are quiet, and then they hear the voice of God. So I'm going to tell you, this year, you need, and I don't care if you make resolutions or not, this is a resolution you need to make. You need to make time for quiet time. Time when the rest of the noise of the day is going to be put away. And you can say, speak, Lord, for your servant is listening. You know, listening to God is an acquired skill and acquired practice. And in our busy culture, it's hard to do. The first time you do it, you'll probably be so distracted, wondering what you're not hearing. And so maybe your resolution is simply start 5 minutes a day. For 5 minutes a day, I'm going to be quiet before God. And for 2 of those minutes, you're going to do good. For the other 3, you're going to be looking for flies to swat. You're going to be wondering what's going on. And that's fine. Build on it. Get a starting point to where you can start to hear from God. I've noticed that every day I start off in prayer and reading God's Word, that day seems to be more productive, and I seem to get more done, and I seem to be more sensitive to the people around me. But the days I don't, the days I start off in a selfish fashion, whether it's on my phone, whether it's watching a show, or just whatever I feel like doing, those days don't go quite right. I never get accomplished what's going on my list. I never seem to get the right thoughts to materialize. The results seem incomplete. We need some quiet time. You know, it's interesting, when I was in preaching class, it's called homiletics in Bible college. When I was in there, Professor Keith McCaslin was teaching us what to do when the sanctuary gets noisy during a sermon. And there are times it gets noisy, you know, and that's happened. People rustling bulletins, or spouses are whispering back and forth, or kids are talking. And I don't mind the kids, trust me, it's fine. But you know, it's one of those things. I got it all day, so it's normal for me. I don't, so it's good for me. But it's one of those things where the temptation of the preacher is, I will get louder than the noise. But guess what? The noise will get louder with the preacher. That's how it goes. So what Professor McCaslin taught us to do is get quiet. Because when you get quiet, the listener then has to strain their ear to make sure they don't miss a word. Look how quiet it is. It's because I'm quiet. And if you expect to hear from God, God will not compete with the noise in your life. He refuses to play that game. You have to intentionally get quiet with Him. Revelation 3:20, Jesus says, Here I am. I stand at the door and knock. If anyone hears my voice and opens the door, I will come in and eat with that person and they with me. If anyone hears my voice. This year, if you want a great year that God is blessing, you need to pray for ears to hear. Third and finally, you need to pray for a heart to believe. You need to pray for a heart to believe. In his book, Does God Exist?, Michael Robinson makes this statement. If there is no God, we're just molecules in motion. If it's any wonder, is it any wonder people are bored with life? We're just molecules in motion. We're just the physical. It's just a material world. I think Madonna sang that song. And you know what? No wonder life is so vexing and difficult. Because people are only living for what can help this flesh, this body. We need to pray for a heart to understand what God is doing. The good news is God is ready to give us a new heart. He's ready to give us an awakened heart that is sensitive to His leading and to His creation. We enjoy a God who's created so much. We live in a world that has great colors that are beyond the vivid imagination of any person, with breezes that are wilder than we could imagine. It's time that we have a heart that sees and believes all that God has done. Like Dorothy in the Wizard of Oz, we realize we're not in Kansas anymore at times. It's like the old story that begins in black and white. I think we've all seen it. But when she ends up in Oz, it all turns to be color. But we know that everything in Oz is actually a reflection of something from her real life. And when she returns home, she realizes everything that she thought was in Oz was in fact her reality. In fact, that Oz was with her in the black and white world around her. Like Jacob, who encountered God in a dream, he woke up and said, Surely the Lord was in this place, and I did not know it. Did you get that? Surely the Lord was in this place, and I did not know it. So the only thing that keeps us from seeing and hearing is a heart that is dulled, a heart that is filled with life's struggles. That's why we need a new heart. That's why Paul writes this, so we fix our eyes not on what is seen, but on what is unseen. For what is seen is temporary, but what is unseen is eternal. I can't imagine what it would be like to go through life and never understand that there's more to life than meets the eye. To be so absorbed in the material world that we never truly meet God. We have God around us at all times, and people are so clueless to it, sleepwalking through life. We need to pray for a heart to truly believe. Well, as Morgan joins me up here, and someone set up to get to go. I'm not sure. If someone will go back there and check on that, I would appreciate it. And they're going to come up here and prepare us for our time of invitation. I would like to read for you a little writing that someone put together, and here's what it says. There are two birds that fly over our nation's deserts. One is the hummingbird, and the other is the vulture. The vultures find the rotting meat of the desert, because that is what they're looking for. They thrive on that diet, but hummingbirds ignore the smelly flesh of dead animals. Instead, they look for the colorful blossoms of desert plants. Each bird finds what it is looking for. We all do. So that is our question this morning. What are you looking for? What are you listening for? What does your heart long for? If you want to get out of this year all that God intends, we need to pray that we would see the right things, hear the right things, and believe the right things. And if we do that, we're going to have a year unlike any other. Here's what we read in Ezekiel 36. God says, I will give you a new heart and put a new spirit in you. I will remove from you your heart of stone and give you a heart of flesh. The Bible says the day is coming when we will clearly see. For now it is a darkened glass, but one day the darkness will be removed and we will see clearly. I pray that we would start seeing clearly more right now, today. In order to do that, we're going to begin a sermon series next week on the life of Jeremiah. It's a long book, and he's got a lot of prophecies, and we're not going to dig through all that. We're going to mostly focus on the texts that deal with Jeremiah's life. He had a very difficult life. But what we will find is a man who completely dedicated himself through the ups and the downs of life to fully honor God in all that he said and did. And that is our hope as well, as we go on a quest for the best. Well, this morning, the best has already been given to us. And it's the form of Jesus on the cross for our sins. This morning, if you need to accept that forgiveness and make that same commitment that we saw Tim make this morning, I want you to do that. But maybe you've already done that and you need to make a commitment to be part of a family like Haley did this morning and to place her membership here. If you need to make either of those decisions today,